Hey there, welcome to the channel. Today, let's make some gluten-free slice and bake cookies. We're gonna make gluten-free maple pecan shortbread cookies. I'm Jamie with SavorySaver. I share gluten-free recipes, tips, tricks, and resources to make your gluten-free lifestyle easier. So please consider hitting subscribe and let's slice and bake up some cookies. All right, so today's recipe comes from the website Simply Quinoa. I was looking around actually on the King Arthur website and found this recipe, which linked back to that. Ingredients will be listed in the description, and let's just go over those for a minute. So in the ingredients, there's not a whole lot of stuff in it that's difficult. These are almond flour based. So if you have a nut allergy, of course, you won't be able to make these. Or if you just don't keep almond flour in the house, you may be able to sub that for a gluten-free 1-for-1, but I don't know if that's gonna work for you or not. So if you give that a try, leave it in the comments below. A couple other things to note, there's no eggs in this recipe, so they are egg-free. And the only dairy ingredient in this recipe is butter, and it's not very much of it. So I would totally swap that out for your favorite vegan butter if you wanna keep them dairy-free. These are slice and bake, so let's get the dough put together so we can get it chilled. All right, so this recipe is dump everything into the bowl and mix it up pretty much. So I've got 1 cup of almond flour. I am using Blue Diamond almond flour. Of course, King Arthur says to use theirs, but it's almond flour. So I've got Blue Diamond almond flour in here. Use whatever almond flour you like best. To that, I'm gonna add 3 tablespoons of unsalted butter. It was not softened out of my fridge, of course, so I just microwaved it for about 20 seconds just to soften it up some. Room temperature would probably be best. Next, I'm gonna add 3 tablespoons of powdered sugar, 1 teaspoon of ground cinnamon, 1/8 of a teaspoon just fine salt. I'm just using table salt. I'm gonna add 2 teaspoons of pure maple syrup, this is an optional ingredient. It does say that you can add 1/8 of a teaspoon of maple flavoring. I am going to use that. It's just going to intensify the maple flavoring. If you don't use any kind of flavorings like this, or you're worried about the gluten-free, ingredients in it, it's optional. You can totally leave it out. I will try to link below to options that may be suitable for gluten-free and anything like that if I can find any. Finally, I'm gonna add 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla extract. Off to the side here, I have 1/3 cup of chopped pecans, and we're gonna stir those in after, or fold them in. I've got the spatula here. So I'm gonna mix this up first, and then we'll fold these in. I am gonna use my mixer. You wanna mix it on low just until everything comes together as a dough. Totally could do this by hand if you didn't want to dig out the mixer, because I don't think it's gonna be a problem to do it by hand. All right, guys, I've been mixing this for about a minute. Does that look like a dough to you? Me either. So let's see if hand mixing it is actually better. If that butter's softened, it'll mix faster. So that could be part of my issue. I actually think that this is going much better. Kind of creaming everything together like you would butter and sugar together. All right, that looks like a dough to me, and much easier with this. Let's add in our pecans and get those all mixed in. And probably with the pecans, I've got a couple pieces that are decent size. Probably the finer you chop them, the better. You don't want it to be flour, but we don't want super big hunks of it. All right, guys, that looks pretty mixed in to me. I will say it's relatively dark, and I think that's because of the extract that I used. So if you're not using that, yours may be a little lighter than that. I think it's probably why they're so dark and brown. Not that it's a bad thing, just if yours look lighter than this and you haven't used the extract, that's most likely why. All right, let's get this onto some plastic wrap. All right, now we have to shape this into a log. So you want to spread it out. And then we can roll it out more from there. All right, this should make about 20 cookies. They're gonna be cut about 1/4 of an inch. So if we're doing 1/4 of an inch and 20 cookies, then you're gonna want this to be, what's that, about 5 inches long. We should get 4 cookies per inch of dough. So I'm gonna call that good. I'm gonna continue to roll it. I'm gonna twist the ends, and I'm going same direction each way, kind of like you would if you were making a compound butter to chill it down. All right, guys, I'm gonna call that good. One of the suggestions in the comments was that if you have an empty paper towel tube, then you could roll this up and then put this in the paper towel tube to keep everything nice and round. I'm not gonna worry about it. We're gonna go a little more rustic here like we typically do. So this needs to chill for about an hour. You want it firm. So if it goes 2 hours, great. If it goes till tomorrow, even better probably. So let's get this chilled down and then we'll get it sliced up and baked off. All right, guys, so it's actually been about 2 hours. I checked it at the hour-long mark and it just wasn't firm enough for me that I felt that I could slice it up well. So it is 2 hours in. I've got my oven preheating to 350 degrees. So let's get these sliced and put on a cookie sheet. Okay, so I've got a cookie sheet here. It's a great big one. It's gonna make about 20 cookies. The original recipe said to use parchment paper. I'm actually just going to slice and put it on this because it is non-stick. So let's just start by slicing off an end. And I'm gonna put those to the side because I might just try to shape it after. So I've got a straight edge here. I'm gonna see how that works. The pecans might get in the way, so we'll see how that goes. Guys, it looks like they're slicing really nicely. They're not perfectly round, but that's okay. And then if they break up a little bit, I've just pushed it back together. All right, this last little bit, our oven is ready. Let's just see if I can't shape it. Well, that's pretty odd shaped. That might be the taste test one. So here we go. Everything's on the one sheet. I've got 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 23. So I've got a couple extras. So evidently my slicing, like this one here, isn't perfect. So let's get these baked off. We're gonna bake them 12 to 14 minutes until they're lightly browned. Then I'm gonna take them out of the oven, let them cool on the pan for 10 minutes, and then transfer them to a wire rack to cool completely. We'll give them a taste as soon as they're ready. All right, so it's been 12-minute cook time, 10 minutes cooling on the pan, and then I transferred them to a rack. And they're actually cool enough to try now, so we're gonna do that. Let's take a look at a couple of them. So that's what one looks like. It is lightly brown around the edges. It is a little darker on the back. And guys, you need to remember that cookie sheets are all different, so just keep an eye on your bake time. It might only take 10 or 11 minutes instead of the 12 to 14. Also, these are almond flour based, so there's extra oils in there that are not gonna be in those gluten-free flour blends. So that's part of the reason the browning is so good. So just keep an eye on that. I don't think it's gonna ruin them at all, but it did make, you know, mine are a little browner than they probably should be. You do wanna cut them to size because that was one of the thin ones and that's the top and it's a lot darker than this one is. So that's okay, not a problem I don't think. We'll try one of those as well. In fact, why don't we try, that's the one that had the really thin edge. Let me try that one first. So that one did cook just a little too long, but it actually has a decent texture to it. It tastes like a shortbread cookie, which I like. So I'm not mad at that. I am gonna try one of the light ones though, because I think we'll get a better feel for the taste. So that one's got a bunch of pecans in it and it's a good color. I really like the texture of these. They are just as good as a regular shortbread cookie. They have that crispness to it and I really like that texture. The pecans are tasty. They've toasted up in those cookies, so I like the texture that those add as well as the flavor. The cinnamon, honestly, I can't really taste the cinnamon in it. Yeah, I really honestly can't taste the cinnamon in it. I'm not really sure why. There might be a little bit at the end. A teaspoon is quite a bit of cinnamon in something that size, but I'm sure it's not hurting the flavor. I like cinnamon, so I'm okay with that. Finally, the maple is very, very subtle. I don't taste a lot of it, and it's actually kind of at the very end. So I am glad I added that extract. So if you use extracts and have maple extract, I think I would definitely use that. Okay guys, likes and dislikes. I like that they were easy to put together. I like that I had the ingredients on hand. Wasn't difficult, not a whole lot of time to do it. I like that I could pop them in the fridge and get that dough cold and just slice them and go. That means I could make them today, or I could make them and bake them off tomorrow. I really like that aspect of it. I think these would be fine even for a couple days in the fridge, maybe even frozen, and then slice and bake when you need them. Taste is very good. I would make these again. They're a good cookie. As long as you can have nuts and like almond flour, and I don't think they taste like almond flour per se. They taste like shortbread cookies. Guys, I really don't have any dislikes with this recipe. I think it came out good. I think it's worth trying. We'll see if Tara likes them or not when she gets home. I will try to remember to leave that in the comments below. I will link down below to the full recipe. The recipe author was from Simply Quinoa, but when I actually tried to go to the website, I couldn't find the actual recipe there. So I will link down below back to King Arthur Baking, where all the directions and ingredients will be. Ingredients will be listed below, as well as maybe an extract or two if I can find them gluten-free for you guys in case you don't have access to that. Other than that, guys, leave me your comments below, your questions I'll try to answer. I want to thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video.